Hey everybody! Today I'm going to be talking about how do you deal with a pattern that has tons of options without wasting a ton of paper. So to do that, I'm going to use my super scientific, wonderfully drafted, okay, so it's a fake pattern, but you get the idea. This would be a back piece, notice, back, with both a modest back and a low back option. So if you were to have a pattern with, 2, 3, 4, a million options, and you don't want to print it out, waste all that paper, sit there taping and trimming your pages, it takes some time. So if you don't want to do that, you have some options. One, you could trace it. You could just take some medical tracing paper. This stuff's really cheap. I paid, I think, maybe $10 for this whole roll on Amazon. And you could sit there and trace it all out and then cut it out, and you would forever have the pattern option. And it stores pretty easily. I mean, it's thin, so it's lightweight. It doesn't take up a lot of room to store. It's totally an option for you. It's not the option I use because I'm lazy and I don't want to sit there tracing out a pattern, especially when it's just a simple change. So I'll show you what I do. So I'll take my pattern piece and I will cut all the way around the most outside lines there are. Whether or not I'm doing the low back or the modest back or whatever option, I'm always going to cut out that modest back because it's the most outside line, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, there's my doll-sized pattern piece. So if I'm going to do the regular back rather than the modest back, I'll do what my husband, who's a woodworker, would call curve cuts. So those are just little cuts going from the outside about, an inch apart, maybe 3/4 of an inch, closer together during tight curves and further apart during wide ones. So now I have all of my curve cuts. So now, if I'm going to actually do this pattern piece, I just fold them. I fold mine to the back so that they don't get in the way while I'm either pinning or placing my pattern weights, or I use a rotary cutter, so I don't want those, sticking up and getting in my way with the rotary cutter, so I push them towards the back. And now you can see I have a back. I can cut along the low back option here, but if I decide to make a modest back later on, I just simply unfold it and I'll cut it out using that. It's still there, totally usable. So hope you enjoyed this tip. It can be used for any pattern with a ton of options. You can even use it if you really want to for a different size, though I wouldn't recommend it. Doing this all the way around the pattern, that's a lot. I would just do it for a couple of little options, like an optional neckline or, a slouchy fit versus a more fitted. So anything where you have just a couple of areas that would be different. Maybe a long seam, a mid-length skirt versus a full-length skirt, especially if it's a curved seam. If it's a straight seam, you just, straight fold it up and you don't have to do the curve cuts. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. And happy sewing. Save your paper, save your ink, save your money to buy more fabric. Or is that just me? Anyways, all right guys, have a good one. Bye.